Japan redefines rape and raises age of consent. Japan has made major changes to its rape law and its age of consent. The reforms were brought about by several serious sexual crimes that led to protests across the nation. Japan used to have one of the lowest ages of consent in the world, only 13 years old. The previous law only regarded an act as rape if the victim could prove that they had been attacked or threatened. They also had to prove that they attempted to resist their attacker. Many argued that the legal system failed to protect children and made it difficult for victims to report crimes. Thus, Japan has now raised the age of consent to 16 and redefined rape as non-consensual sex. The new rape law adds situations in which victims are unable to fight back. These include being under the influence of drugs or alcohol. On the whole, this change marks an important step forward for Japanese society. However, there's still a long way to go to create a better environment for minors and victims of sexual violence.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to English for You. I'm Sam.
And I'm Chickling.
Okay, and today we have an interesting topic, don't we? We're going all the way to Japan first.
Japan, and I think it's about Japanese
Yeah,
law.
it is. It's a law about sex. And
Okay,
so let's not get too excited about that. It's one that's here to protect people, as laws should do.
Oh.
And it's probably one that we will agree, when we get going through the article, we'll agree that it's been perhaps long overdue. Yeah. So it's here to protect especially younger people, but also, older people in general. But
So let me guess, is it sexual harassment?
it's related to that.
Okay,
yes.
okay.
Yeah, so it's a very serious topic. It's not a fun topic today.
Yeah.
So I guess we should get going.
We should, yeah.
Okay. So the article begins with, Japan has made major changes to its rape law and its age of consent.
Okay, so as we see, has made major changes. That means really big changes. So it's like a rape. Rape over here is used as a noun. So it means the crime of forcibly having sex with someone against their wishes.
Right, yeah.
所以在名词中这边是性侵罪或强奸罪的意思哦。And of course, you can use it as a verb. And let's make a sentence with rape. 那它用名词来代表哦，我们可以说 almost 90% of all rapes and violent assaults went unreported. OK， 那我们这另外一个字呢 consent， 它就是名词，是同意准许的意思，那它就很像是 permission 或者是 agreement 的感觉。那老师刚刚讲到的 age of consent， 这个指的是法定的承诺年龄，它是法律用语，什么意思呢？就是一个人可以独立决定是不是可以进行结婚或者性行为等活动的最低年龄哦。所以我们就知道说，日本对性侵法跟法定承诺年龄是有做一个很重大的变动的。I wonder how they make the change.
Okay, well, let's see if we can find out. The article says, the reforms were brought about by several serious sexual crimes that led to protests across the nation. So here we've got our first pocket phrase, which is bring about. And this is a phrase that almost certainly requires some explaining because bring and about perhaps logically don't fit the meaning. So bring about actually means to introduce or to cause something to happen. Because of this, we can assume we're talking about a change. If someone had seemed sad 10 minutes ago but now seems really happy, we could say, what has brought about this change?
So, bring about something 就是促成或引起的意思，什么变化？所以我也可以讲 her nervous breakdown was brought about by stress， 是因为压力而引起的。So, what does sexual mean?
Okay, yeah, this is a very important word for the topic. And this one is a little easy to understand because it's literally the adjective used to describe things to do with sex. So in the article, we're talking about crimes, and these are sexual crimes. So we can assume then that these crimes include rape, as Chicklin has just talked about, and other crimes that are to do with sex. So an example could be, I was really surprised when Alex told me he has a sexual interest in his best friend, Maria.
所以呢 sexual 就是有关性的，所以像我们刚刚有提到的 sexual harassment 这个是性骚扰，那么如果是比较严重的是 sexual assault 它是性侵害，那么如果我们今天讲到的是性别平等，那就是 sexual equality。 那我们看一个句子哦， In some situations a dirty joke can be considered sexual harassment。 那么我们刚刚有看到一个 protest 这一个字， It's used as a noun over here, so we put the accent on the first syllable， 所以我们重音要放在 P 哦，要高一点 protest。 那如果是什么抗议的集会，后面可以加上 against， 比如说 local residents have organized a protest against the planned dump site， 所以当地的居民呢组织了抗议活动，要去反对计划中的垃圾场。那么如果当动词的话呢，它就要念 protest。 所以我们日本这个改革呢是有好几起严重的性侵案件引发的，那这些案件呢都在国内引发了抗议。 So I assume that some people got raped?
Yes, I think we can probably assume that.
Yeah.
I think we're also about to find out why I said at the beginning that this law has been long overdue and perhaps should have been changed a long time ago. So let's see what it says. It says Japan used to have one of the lowest ages of consent in the world, only 13 years old.
所以日本曾经是世界上法定承诺年龄最低的国家之一，就13岁。That doesn't make sense to me.
No, that seems very, very young.
Too young.
Yeah. Because in Taiwan it's
18, I
okay,
think.
18,
Or 16?
16. Yeah, so I think in the UK where I'm from it's 16. So, 13 seems extremely young. So let's see what the article says about this. The previous law only regarded an act as rape if the victim could prove that they had been attacked or threatened. So to understand this, we need to know previous, and the word previous just means the last thing. So the previous law is the last law. An example would be, I think I preferred Lisa's previous car. Her new one is a bit ugly.
Don't tell her about that.
No.
OK， 所以 previous 就是先前的嘛。那我们常常会看到一个副词就是 previously. So if we watch Netflix, we often hear previously on The Walking Dead, 然后 blah blah blah， 就是之前做过的一些前情提要，有点像中文。所以我也可以讲 The album includes 4 previously unreleased tracks。所以呢，这一个专辑有4首都是以前没有发行过的歌曲。那我们赶快来看一下今天的 Language in Focus。OK， 所以我们要讲到的是什么呢？我们就是要讲 think of, regard, see, view, look on, and look upon someone or something as something， 就是视为什么东西是什么。那我们来看一下句子哦，比较清楚。比如说 People in the past regarded certain animals as sacred， 所以就是这些过去的人呢，会把特定的动物呢当成是很神圣的，把什么认为什么嘛。或者是呢His colleagues see him as a future director。 那么除了主动语态，上面都是主动语态，我们改成被动语态也 OK 哦。我们可以说 Paco is looked on as the most talented student in the class。 那么同样表达是什么东西为什么，还有 consider， 但是记得哦，我们就不用加 as 这一个字了。比如说I consider myself highly privileged to have this opportunity. Or in some religions, pork is considered impure.
Okay, so now we have the word threaten. So before we go through that, we need to kind of go back through the previous sentence of the article, which ended with as rape if the victim could prove that they had been attacked or threatened. So that's what threatened is in the context of the article. So if we threaten someone, we tell them that we are going to hurt them in some way. This hurt can be physical hurt or it can be something that isn't physical. So an example of kind of physical hurt would be the thief threatened to kill the woman if she didn't give him all her money. But we could also have, as I say, something that isn't physical, and that could be Ben threatened to quit his job if he didn't get paid more money.
Right， 所以呢，去威胁一个人做什么事情，我们就会 threaten to do something。那么 threaten 这一个字就是威胁或恐吓。所以如果是用什么东西威胁谁呢？我们可以加一个 with。比如说 he threatened her with a small knife， 所以他拿着一只小刀去威胁这个女孩子 and assaulted her。那么呢，这是一个动词嘛 ，and the noun form is threat。所以威胁的话，我们可以说 under threat of something。比如说 many wild plants are under threat of extinction， 就是很多呢野生植物都快要绝种了。所以日本之前的法律呢，它只有在受害者可以证明他们遭到攻击或威胁的时候，才会将那个行为视为性侵哦。
Okay, so back to the article. They also had to prove that they attempted to resist their attacker, which is not...
How do you even
Yes, how do you prove that? And why should you have to even? It seems a really strange rule. But anyway. So attempt. So the word attempt really just means to try to do something. So they had to prove that they tried to resist their attacker. Attempt can also be used as a noun in exactly the same form. If we use attempt as a noun in the article, the sentence would be, they also had to prove that they made an attempt to resist their attacker. So an example could be, Jim attempted to find a new job, but he couldn't find one that he wanted. So he attempted and failed.
Yeah, okay. So attempt 就是试图嘛，那老师刚刚讲了，当名词也可以，就是 make no attempt or make an attempt to do something。那如果都没有试图做，你就是把 A 改成 no 就好了。比如说 authorities made no attempt to stop the march， 就让游行继续了。所以日本的这个法律呢，他们要受害者也必须证明他们曾试图抵抗攻击者。
Okay.The article then says, many argued that the legal system failed to protect children and made it difficult for victims to report crimes. So here we have the word legal. Legal is used to talk about things related to law. Remember that we talked about sexual before and how it relates to sex. Well, legal is the same thing, but with law. So the article means that the system of laws failed to protect children.So an example for this could be, William found himself in legal trouble after he was caught stealing money from his boss.
OK， 所以 legal 呢就是跟法律有关的嘛。那么，这边是指法律的意思。所以如果是法定的权利，就是 legal rights。那么如果是法律的途径，我们可以说 legal action。那我们可以讲 prisoners have legal rights, but these rights are not always respected。或者是呢 they decided not to take legal action against him。这个 legal action 法律途径嘛，所以它的动词使用 take， 或者是使用刚刚那个 threaten someone with something 也 OK 啊。They have threatened us with legal action. 那么也有合法的意思 like is abortion legal where you live? 所以很多人认为呢，法律体系根本就不能保护这些儿童啊，而且还会让受害者很难去举报他们真的被性侵害或者性骚扰了。
Okay, so what has Japan done? The article tells us, it says, thus, Japan has now raised the age of consent to 16 and redefined rape as non-consensual sex.
Okay, so that's probably more like other countries.
Right, yeah, I think that brings it in line with certainly how it is in the UK, and I think if it is 16 in Taiwan, then that would probably be the same as Taiwan.
Yeah, I think it's 16 in Taiwan.
Okay, yes, I'm also not entirely sure on that.
Right, 所以日本现在怎么办呢？他们就把这个法定成年年龄提高到16岁，然后把性侵重新定义成非自愿性的行为。
Okay. So the new rape law adds situations in which victims are unable to fight back. These include being under the influence of drugs or alcohol. So that's a big thing, you know, from we talked about before about having to prove that you kind of resisted.
Yeah.
How can you prove if you had been drugged or if you had a lot of alcohol? It would be very hard to resist or to prove that you resisted.Yeah,
right. 所以呢，这个还蛮好的哦。他们新的性侵法就增加了某些受害者没有办法反抗的情况，像今天如果你被下毒啦，或下药了，或你有喝酒，这些情形都是算在里面的。所以 alcohol 就是酒精。
Okay. So the article then says, on the whole, this change marks an important step forward for Japanese society. So we've got a couple of pocket phrases here. One is on the whole, and this is a tricky one, and it means in general or taking everything into account. So if I ask someone how they're doing, they could tell me that they have a bit of a cold, but on the whole, they're doing fine. That means that in general, everything is going okay, despite the fact they're not feeling too well.Yeah,
所以 on the whole 就是整体上来说，为什么呢？因为 whole 这个字本来就是有全部的意思，所以呢，比如说after you watch a movie, you can say, on the whole, I thought the movie was pretty good.
You're right, yeah.
So, yeah, this law change has made a big change.
It has, yes, a big change. So we then have a step forward, okay?So this pocket phrase means to make progress towards something. Imagine that we're working on some kind of project and we take a big step forward. This means that we progress a lot.
老师讲的 progress 就是进步哦，所以 a step forward 你马上想想 step 就是我们走的一步，所以往前的一步嘛，它就是往上走了。所以整体而言呢，这个变化呢，标志着日本社会向前迈出了非常重要的一步哦。
Okay.So then the article says, however, there's still a long way to go to create a better environment for minors and victims of sexual violence. So here we've got a long way to go. So this one's probably quite an easy one to understand, I guess. It basically means there's still a lot to do to achieve something. So it kind of contrasts against a step forward. In our project, we still have a lot of work to do to reach the end.
所以 a long way to go 就是在成功之前还有很长的路要走。I'm sure that's pretty much the same for every country.
Yeah, I would guess so. So we also have violence here. So violence is our final vocab word for the day, and it's as serious as the rest of this topic. Violence is a noun that is used to mean physically hurting someone. So if you hit or kick someone, you are using violence to hurt someone.So an example would be Ryan's mum doesn't like him watching late-night movies because they often contain a lot of violence.
So, 这个 violence 就是暴力的行为嘛，那么它是名词，它的形容词是 violent， 所以如果是暴力的犯罪就是 violent crime。比如说 violent crime went up by 9% last year， 那么如果是暴力的冲突就是 violent confrontation。所以呢，在成功为未成年人和性暴力受害者创造更好的环境方面，其实还是有很长的路要走的。
Okay, so
I think we have a for you chat
we
question.
We do,
right?
yes.
Do you want me to ask you, or do you want me to?
You can ask me.
Okay.
See if I can come up with any good answer, depending on what the question is.
Yeah, okay. So our for you chat question for today is, in addition to legal reforms, what are other ways to create a safer environment against sexual violence?
I think, in my opinion, it's all about education.
True.
Yeah. I don't know. I've never been to school in Japan. I don't know what people are taught in like their sexual education classes, but I suppose this could apply to anywhere in the world, not just Japan. And I think probably the more we are taught about how to, not just the act of having sex, but how to like initiate, how to start the process with somebody.
Yeah.
Like if you need to know that you've got consent, that the other person agrees to have sex with you. Well, that doesn't sound very romantic, but basically that's what you're doing, right? And the other person has to agree to that. And I think if we're taught to recognize the signs that are like, does that person agree? Does that person not agree? Because I think it can also be very difficult if you don't know kind of how it works. Sometimes it can be difficult to know what the other person's thinking.
Right, it can be really confusing.
Yeah, because sex is not something that we always like to just directly talk about. You know, it's like, do you want to have sex?
Especially in the East.
Right, yeah.
Okay, and I also think that children should be taught more about how to prevent sexual violence.
Yeah.
Like learn how to say no.
Yeah.
Like even if it's someone that's working above you, you should always learn how to say no. Don't be afraid to say no when you sense something is going wrong.
Right. Yeah, there's definitely a power thing there that can happen. Because you hear about it in the news, like someone's boss tries to come on to someone.
I don't want to lose my job.
Yeah, exactly. So they don't want to say no, but they do want to say no, if that makes sense.
Okay, so I think that's pretty much what we have for today's lesson, and I hope you guys have really learned something.
Yeah, and stay safe.
So I'll see you guys next time, and this is Chickling.
And this is Sam.
Bye.
Bye.
Vocabulary Review.
Sexual. Jamie and Morgan care deeply for each other, but they do not have a sexual relationship. Previous. Mark likes his current job as an artist more than he liked his previous job as a waiter. Threaten. The man was taken away by the police officer for threatening his neighbor with a large stick. Attempt. Jack tore a hole in his pants while attempting to climb across the tall fence. Legal. The organization provides legal support to those who don't have enough money for a lawyer. Violence. Katie doesn't like movies that show a lot of killing because the violence upsets her.
智慧小补帖
Rape. Consent. Protest. Alcohol.